At 18,000 feet above the Pacific, 4 Japanese bombers flew in perfect formation. No radio chatter, no escort fighters, no fear. Why would they be afraid? American pilots couldn't see at night. That's what Japanese intelligence believed. But somewhere in the darkness, something was watching them. Not a squadron, not a radar ship, not even ground control, just one aircraft. No one on the Japanese side had been briefed about it. No one believed such a plane even existed. 80 minutes later, all 4 bombers were gone. No distress calls, no survivors, no explanation. And the pilots who returned that night all reported the same thing. We were being hunted by something we could not see. This is the true story of the P-61 Black Widow, the first American aircraft designed to kill in total darkness. And the night the Japanese realized the sky itself had turned against them. The night war, no one prepared for. 1944, the war changes after sunset. World War II had a problem nobody wanted to admit. At night, everyone was blind. Fighters were useless. Bombers flew freely. Anti-aircraft guns fired into empty skies. Japanese bombers learned this fast. They began flying night harassment raids, small groups, low risk, high psychological damage. They didn't need accuracy. They just needed sleep deprivation, airfields, supply dumps, tent camps. Every night the same pattern. Bombs drop, sirens scream, engines fade into darkness. American troops gave these bombers a nickname, Washing Machine Charlie, because you could hear them, but you could never touch them. Morale collapsed. Commanders demanded answers. And somewhere in a classified hangar, the U.S. Army Air Forces revealed a weapon they had been hiding, a plane built for darkness. The aircraft didn't look like a fighter. It looked like a monster. Wide wings, twin engines, a crew of 3, and a nose that didn't hold guns. It held radar, the Northrop P-61 Black Widow, the first aircraft in history designed only for night combat. Not adapted, not modified, built from scratch to kill what could not be seen. Most pilots hated it at first. It was heavy, slow compared to daytime fighters, hard to land. And worst of all, it depended on machines, not eyesight. Old-school pilots didn't trust radar. If I can't see it, I don't believe it. But war doesn't care what you believe. The crew that flew alone. A P-61 didn't fly like other planes. It hunted. Each aircraft carried 3 men. Pilot only flying blind. Radar operator, seeing everything. Gunner, waiting for the kill. They didn't rely on searchlights. They didn't rely on ground control. Once airborne, they were alone. Just a green radar scope glowing in the cockpit. Little blips moving across the screen. Each blip meant a plane. Each plane meant a life. The mission that night. On the night of June 1945, U.S. radar stations picked up something unusual. 4 Japanese bombers, medium altitude, heading straight toward an American base in the Philippines. No escorts. Command assumed it was another nuisance raid. But this time, they didn't scramble flak guns. They launched one aircraft. A single P-61. Call sign, Black Widow 13. The pilot was calm. The radar operator was silent. The gunner checked his weapons twice. They didn't need backup. They didn't need luck. They had something the enemy didn't even know existed. First contact, without seeing anything. At 20 miles out, the radar operator spoke softly. Contact. 4 targets. Tight formation. The pilot never saw them. Not once. No moon. No stars. Just empty black sky. The radar screen guided every move. Left. Climb. Throttle back. The Japanese bombers never knew they were being stalked. They didn't hear engines. They didn't see lights. They didn't know death was already behind them. The first bomber vanishes. At 300 yards, the gunner armed the cannons. The pilot squeezed the trigger. 4 20mm cannons erupted. The night lit up for half a second. And then nothing. The bomber didn't explode. It simply disappeared. Radar contact gone. No mayday. No flare. No warning. The remaining 3 bombers kept flying. Still unaware. Still confident. Still alive. For now. The Japanese realize something is wrong. Minutes later, a second bomber vanished. This time, the formation broke. Radio chatter erupted in panic. What hit us? I see nothing. There are no fighters here. Their training had no answer. No searchlights, no tracers, no interceptors. Just darkness and death. Why they couldn't fight back. Japanese bombers had defensive guns, but they were useless. You can't shoot what you can't see. The P-61 attacked from below, behind and above, guided entirely by radar. Every maneuver was invisible. Every attack came from nowhere. The Black Widow didn't chase. It waited. 80 minutes into the mission. The third bomber tried to flee, diving hard, engine screaming. It didn't matter. The radar never lost it. The kill took seconds. The fourth bomber was alone, completely alone, and finally, it saw something. A dark shape, no lights, no sound, just before impact. Aftermath. When the P-61 landed, ground crews were confused.
Did you even fire?
The crew said nothing. Radar logs told the story. 4 contacts, 4 kills, 80 minutes. No American base was bombed that night, no sirens, no casualties, and Japanese command would later report. Enemy possesses an aircraft capable of hunting at night. They didn't know its name. They just knew the sky was no longer safe. The night missions no one wanted. Something strange began happening on Japanese airfields across the Pacific. The bomber crews who once volunteered for night missions started finding excuses. Weather delays, mechanical issues, crew fatigue. But commanders knew the truth. They were afraid, because some crews were coming back, and others were simply vanishing. No wreckage, no parachutes, no radio distress, just empty runways and unanswered roll calls. The report that alarmed Tokyo. A classified intelligence report reached Japanese high command. Its wording was short and terrifying. Enemy night fighter operates without visual contact. That single sentence changed everything. It meant searchlights were useless. Defensive gunners were blind. Formation flying offered no protection. This was not a battle Japan had prepared for. The birth of an invisible enemy. Rumors spread fast among pilots. Some believed the Americans had developed silent engines. Others whispered about black-painted aircraft that absorbed light. A few even claimed the enemy was flying unmanned planes. The truth was worse. The American aircraft didn't need to see. It hunted by numbers, angles, and distance, guided by radar alone. How the P-61 hunted without mercy. Inside the P-61 Black Widow, emotion had no place. The radar operator watched glowing blips slide across the screen. Distance, closing speed, intercept angle. Every movement was calculated. There were no warning shots, no heroic dogfights. When a radar blip vanished, the logbook received a simple entry. Target destroyed. The psychological cost on the crew. Night fighting changed men. Pilots returned quieter than before. Radar operators stared too long at blank screens. Gunners checked their weapons again and again, even on the ground. Many admitted the same thing. Killing an enemy you never see feels wrong. You're not fighting a plane. You're erasing a presence. Why America kept the Black Widow secret. Despite its success, the P-61 was barely mentioned in newspapers. This was no accident. American commanders feared one thing above all else. If Japan discovered how the Black Widow hunted, they would find a counter. Radar was the true weapon, not guns. So victories went unpublicized. Crews received quiet commendations, and the Black Widow continued killing in silence. The pilot who refused the dark. One Japanese bomber pilot finally refused a night mission. He told his commander, "If I am going to die, I want to at least see who kills me." He was court-martialed, but many pilots secretly agreed. Dying in combat was honorable. Dying to an unseen enemy was unbearable. The sky turns against them. Some Japanese bases ordered fewer night flights. Others flew lower, hugging terrain to avoid detection. The bait takes flight. Shortly after midnight, Japanese radar stations reported a familiar pattern. 3 bombers, medium altitude, steady speed. It looked exactly like another routine harassment raid. To American command, it was an easy call. One P-61 Black Widow was scrambled. No escorts, no backup fighters, just one aircraft rising into the dark. Call sign Black Widow 13, the same crew that had erased 4 bombers weeks earlier. What they didn't know, this time the bombers were not alone. A carefully designed trap. Japanese planners had learned from their losses. These bombers were bait, flying several miles away. Hidden in the darkness were fighters and fast, aggressive and waiting. Their mission was simple. Stay silent, stay invisible. And when the American night fighter revealed itself, attack. For the first time, the Black Widow was flying into an ambush. Radar contact. Something feels wrong. 20 minutes into the mission, the radar operator spoke. Multiple contacts. But spacing is odd. The blips didn't behave like normal bombers. They shifted. They slowed. They drifted apart slightly, then tightened again. The pilot frowned. Night fighters relied on instinct as much as instruments, and every instinct was screaming. This is wrong. The first attack, silence breaks. The P-61 moved in. Closing speed steady. Altitude perfect. At 400 yards, the pilot prepared to fire. That's when the radar screen flickered. Then blank. No blips. No returns. Nothing. The radar operator shouted, "Radar's down!" In night combat, that was a nightmare. Without radar, the Black Widow was just another heavy aircraft, slow and blind. The moment of absolute vulnerability. For several seconds, the cockpit was silent. No eyes. No radar. No idea where the enemy was. The pilot killed the throttle. The aircraft drifted. Then the gunner whispered, "I see something. High, moving fast." A shape cut across the stars. Then another. Japanese fighters. They had found the Black Widow. The sky explodes. Tracer fire streaked past the cockpit. The P-61 shook as rounds punched through the wings. This wasn't an invisible hunt anymore. This was survival. The pilot dove hard. The heavy aircraft groaned under the strain. Japanese fighters tried to stay on its tail, but they had a problem. They could turn faster, but they couldn't predict. The one advantage no one expected. The Black Widow had something no Japanese fighter had faced before. Firepower. As one fighter closed in, the pilot rolled suddenly. The dorsal turret snapped to life. 450 caliber machine guns roared. The fighter vanished in a flash of sparks and flame. Another pulled away. They hadn't expected the blind aircraft to bite back so violently. Radar comes back, just in time. The radar operator slapped the console. The screen flickered, then returned. 2 contacts left, both retreating. The hunter was back, turning the trap around. Instead of chasing, the pilot climbed. He cut across their escape route. The radar guided him into perfect position. The Japanese pilots never realized they were being stalked again. One fighter disappeared. The last fled, engines screaming into the dark. The bombers never made it home. With the fighters gone, the bait was helpless. The bombers scattered. One by one, radar blips vanished. By dawn, none returned after the mission. Back at base, the crew said little. The aircraft told the story. Bullet holes, scorched metal, blood on the cockpit floor. The Black Widow had survived. Barely. Command reviewed the mission and issued a quiet conclusion. Enemy attempts countermeasures unsuccessful. What the Japanese learned that night. The trap failed. Worse, it proved something terrifying. The American night fighter could survive ambush. It could fight blind, and it could turn darkness into a weapon. The silence after the storm. In the weeks following the failed trap, something unusual happened. The nights grew quiet. No engines in the distance. No random bombs falling into darkness. No sirens screaming at midnight. Japanese night raids didn't stop completely. But they became rare, cautious, and desperate. Pilots flew higher, dropped bombs blindly, turned back early. The confidence was gone, because now they knew. The darkness belonged to someone else. An unwinnable equation. Japanese command ran the numbers. Night bombers versus an aircraft that could detect targets beyond visual range, attack from any direction, survive ambush, kill without being seen. There was no solution. No escort could see it. No gunner could track it. No tactic could reliably stop it. The conclusion was brutal and final. Night bombing is no longer viable. The Black Widow's invisible victory. The P-61 never won fame like the Mustang or the Spitfire. There were no victory parades. No magazine covers. No heroic headlines. Its victories were measured in bombs that never fell and lives that were never lost. Every silent night was proof of its success. The men who flew it. After the war, many P-61 crewmen struggled to explain what they did. How do you describe combat where you never see your enemy? You don't hear them scream. You don't watch them fall. One veteran said it best. "We didn't fight pilots. We erased dots on a screen." The truth followed them for life. Why history almost forgot the P-61. When the war ended, technology moved fast. Jet fighters arrived. New radar systems replaced old ones. The Black Widow was retired quietly. No museums rushed to display it. No movies were made about it. It had been too secret, too strange, too different. And so, one of the most lethal aircraft of WWII faded into obscurity. The final Japanese assessment. A post-war Japanese report summarized the experience with chilling clarity. The enemy possessed an aircraft that made night operations impossible. That was all. No mention of dogfights. No mention of bravery. Just inevitability. The real meaning of the 80 minutes. Those 80 minutes, when 4 bombers vanished, changed the war at night. They proved something new. Wars would no longer be won by who could see best, but by who could see first. The P-61 Black Widow wasn't just a fighter. It was the future. So the next time you hear someone say, "Nothing happened in the sky that night," remember this. Some battles are invisible, some victories are silent, and some hunters leave no trace at all. If you enjoyed this story, like, subscribe, and comment Black Widow for more true Woot stories that history tried to forget.